Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be in the vastness of this wide open galaxy. My name is Rocken Larry Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions. Pleiadian Talk here today. We're with Michelle Walling and her special guest that she would like to talk to about some very fascinating subjects. So I'm really looking forward to this show, and let's get started. Michelle Walling in Texas, how are you?
Hi, Larry. I'm doing great. Thank you. We just finished a wonderful edition of our Cosmic Awakening show, and I want to thank you for coming on again tonight for another edition. You know, it just seems like that there's so many people that we need to hear from these days that when we could actually have a show every single night, but
And multiple
so,
ones.
but it's not available on N5D, so we're doing this on Pleiadian Express Productions on Pleiadian Talk, and thank you so much for being the host and allowing me to bring a guest on tonight. Tonight we have Missy Hill with us. Welcome, Missy. Missy Dee. I apologize. Missy Dee. Welcome, Missy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know. You know, it's like
I'm right off on
10:42
you.
at night here. I've been on the air for hours, so I really apologize and messing up your name. I wasn't even looking down, but Missy, I know that everything happens for a reason. There's synchronicities involved. You just happened to contact me today before my other show with Larry. And I know you resonated with with me and some things that that I had said. And when I was asking you basically about your background, I knew that there was a reason that you contacted me, and we'll go into that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you felt and how you resonated with me and how you found me, and tell me about how your childhood. That's the first thing that we talked about was your childhood, because I know you have a message for humanity.
I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, so they were involved in organized crime. And when I was very young, I don't even receive these messages that I didn't have to stay in that family because I just did not want to be part of their activities. It was horrifying,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. It always, I lived in fear all the time. And then in my immediate household, there was a lot of dysfunction. The relationship between my mother and father was a lot of hatred and jealousy and resentment. And my father died in 1985. I was only like 18 years old. And that brought a lot of, there's a lot of issues around his death, a lot of negative energy, a lot of violence. It just wasn't good. But I always received messages. I always received these messages. You don't have to stay in this family. It's okay to leave them. Even though you were born into them, you don't have to stay. And I grew up in New York, and I always knew later on in life I would not stay in New York because it's just the energy was very violent.
Oh, it
I
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't take it. A lot of greed, a lot of crime, a lot of and it's not the basic crimes that you hear about, murder and all of that. It's more like the financial crimes.
Is this
And
New York City, Missy?
yes, New York.
You know, I read somewhere that some of the darkest, deepest energy on the planet is in the subway in the underground
Yes,
system of New York City.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I've been there twice, and I've only been on the subway once. I just felt like I couldn't do it. I couldn't go down there. I really felt fear coming from there.
Exactly. I always avoided the subway. I grew up in New York, and I always avoided the subways because of that. I was always in tune with energies and that negative energy. I just always connected to it. I was always aware of it. So after my father died, my family, they, they kind of just, I didn't want to be what they wanted me to be because, in those families, everybody is either a scapegoat or a participant or, it's not very pretty. So I broke away from them, and I've always just lived very simple. I just whatever job I had, I just lived within my means. I didn't. Um, I wasn't into credit cards and credit and buying all this stuff that I couldn't afford. I just never was into that. And I know most of the, society is into that. So I always felt alone in society as I went along in life because I was so different. And people could never relate to me. They would always misunderstand me as being a snob or being snooty, standoffish. But I'm not like that. I just I just
Hmm.
don't live the way they live.
Well, I
And
think Larry and I can relate as far as growing up and not fitting in and not feeling like um, that we resonated with other people, children like in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I know I heard you say this just, I don't know, yesterday or something, but Larry, about how, they had all cliques in high school, and I had friends in every one of the cliques just like you did, but yet I still felt alone because
mhm.
Yes.
I didn't have my own group that I really fit into.
No,
Perfect
me either.
explanation. Perfect explanation. And I think that it's a subtle thing too. It's like with your families, it's not necessarily okay that you're this big, complete screw up outcast, and maybe in some cases it is, but it's just something innately that you feel like you're different. Okay, you feel like you're different. You see things for how they are. You just feel like something's just a little bit off. But then that too can also manifest this in us to where we become that black sheep of the family or the scapegoat or whatever, or whatever, you know what I mean, or whatever the term it would
Exactly.
be. But we manifest that, and then we start thinking that our whole family thinks that way about us, and after a while it kind of becomes the case. But for the most part, I think it's just a feeling of being able to see through the illusion, and also, you just feel like something's different. I don't know, Michelle, does that resonate with you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that it was when when I say I woke in 2010, I mean that's when I had my aha moment, but I think my whole life built up to that,
Right.
and making me not feel comfortable, making me I had to, unfortunately, Missy, I had to go through the credit card situation. I had to go through the marriage, two marriages actually, but I had to go through the material things in order to experience it so I would know that that's exactly what I did not want. And you're lucky in that you recognized it right off the bat, as a very young person. And so one of the things that I did want you to expand on a bit is the simple life, the simplicities. That's what we need to get back to, and that's one of your, you said stop obsessing about money was one of the things that you wanted to bring forth tonight.
And
Yes.
Michelle, if I could just chime in for a second, I really resonated with what you just said because we wanted to experience it, and I was thinking when Missy was talking about that was just never important to her, then I mean I really respected that, and I was thinking the same thing, that she was really lucky that, in that regard, actually.
And I joined the military to break away from my family. That's how bad it was. But
Oh boy.
I
Uh,
I had my son when I was in the military, and I raised him, just me and him. I was very grateful that I didn't have any of those influences in his life. His father, didn't want to be in the picture, so I just broke away from him too. I didn't seek child support or anything because I didn't want to bring that negativity into my son's life. So I raised him, just me and him, and I just worked, and I paycheck to paycheck, and that's how we lived. I raised him in a one-bedroom apartment, but he's a happy kid. I mean, I raised him on nothing really, peanut butter and crackers, and until this day he tells me I did a good job. I said he was wrong.
You
But
raised him on love, my dear.
it's
exactly,
very
that's the
funny
best thing you could ever gave him.
It's very funny though, because the relationships that I've had, like, with men, they were all criminals or drug dealers. Isn't that funny? Because that's what I broke away from, but that's
Of
what I kept
course.
attracting in my life.
Exactly.
Oh gosh.
And so how do you feel when you see that pattern and as you've awoken, you've recognized the pattern, it's been placed in front of you, you set up your life to be born into a mafia family, and then, you were attracted to those types of people over and over again. Did you finally realize that there was some kind of karma or some kind of past life issue that you needed to balance?
Yes, that's what scared me. I didn't want to know what that past life issue was, but
Yeah.
I, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm wondering, like, what I was in my past life
Right.
that
Well,
I.
it's very interesting because I just came to a realization yesterday or the day before, a serious realization that I have had, past lives where I have gone undercover to experience or get intel from the dark side. And so I have actually incarnated and aligned with the dark forces in order to be a undercover person. So and there was a time, one lifetime, when I actually got so involved in the lifetime itself that I fell in love with the person that I was undercover, checking out and everything, and we got married and had a child together. So there was as I've been trying to figure out my life as well, why did this have to happen, or why did I run into this person? This is how you heal your past lives, is you just become aware of these patterns and know that there's something involved. You don't, if it keeps coming up obsessively and you still haven't cleared it, then that's when sometimes a past life regression therapy session may be helpful, like Dolores Cannon's QHHT sessions. Greg and I are actually this summer going to become certified QHHT hypnotherapists.
Oh, wow.
You're
So
just
we're
now
really
letting the cat out of
excited.
the bag on that? Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, we're really
You're on
excited
air.
about that because I feel like I have the voice to be able to bring people into that somnambulistic state, and that will allow them, their inner selves, their subconscious, to come forward and bring forth the lifetime that
Not,
hasn't
yeah,
been cleared.
and not to get off topic, but have you met Dolores Cannon? I know Greg's interviewed her, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever heard her do. Actually, have you actually got to meet her?
I did go to a conference that she had in Arkansas in a couple of years ago, and I haven't met her personally. She's a very kind lady,
Oh,
and
definitely, you can tell.
yeah, she's just so busy. Oh my
God,
goodness.
I
But
know. Jesus, and her age, it's like, wow, you got to admire her. Yeah, anyway, though, yeah.
we can actually take the session online. Yeah, this is an
Really?
online session, and then what we'll do is practice on each other and
That ought to be fun to
certify.
watch.
Oh, yeah.
Those are going to be private sessions, huh?
Wouldn't it be fun, though? But we're going to
Yes, for
record
two
them.
minds. Yeah, it'd be
We're going to
fucking
record
amazing.
them. We're going to do just what everybody else, QHHT sessions, the trainers do probably, is we're going to record them, and of course, with the permission of the person that we're working with, put the information out there, because I think what happened with Dolores's books is, over time, she started having other beings come through and give messages about the future of Earth and humanity, and that's what we hope to do after we heal the lifetime that needs to be healed.
Yeah.
Then we perhaps can start getting messages, messages that we can put together, and I'm a writer, so we can put them out to the people. So
That's amazing, and you know, and not to make this the Dolores Cannon show because it's Missy's show really, but Dolores figured all this out through just hypnotizing people for years for smoking and diet and just, you know, mundane shit like that, and this started coming through her like that. I mean, that's the way I understand the story, anyway.
Well, and it's very wonderful that you mentioned that, because another one of Missy's messages has to do with diet.
Yes.
Great, perfect tie-in.
I honestly think that I was born in that family to bring a message, to maybe in another life. I don't know. Maybe I knew what was how the earth was turning around, because I have a strong faith. I had a a near death experience when my son was born. My heart gave out. It stopped. It just stopped working. So I almost died. The doctors thought I needed a heart transplant. But again, I received this message: don't listen to the doctors. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. So after my son was born, they put me on this medicine, and they were scheduling a heart transplant and all this stuff. So I was in the military. So what I did was I went home. I started my PT that we had to do, you know, our exercises, and I always ate healthy. I was always kind of vegetarian. So and I just went about my business. I took the medication they told me to take. I went for a follow-up, and they were shocked. They said, "Well, you don't have anything. Your heart recovered." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I didn't have anything to begin with, so I don't know what you were talking about." So I always had this connection, and I feel like it's a connection to God. I feel like I have a very strong faith, a very strong relationship with Him. And He's guided me through my life, through all of these hard times. And I think He sent me to this earth to try and wake society up. And that's why He put me in that family. And then He told me to break away from them because I couldn't, you know, send any message to them. They were just too far gone. And, you know, I'm here to just, yeah, any situation I'm in, any work situation I'm in, it's always chaos. It's always people that are similar to my family. I think it's very interesting. I'm always in these situations, whether it's work, personal relationships. I'm surrounded by all of these negative forces, and I think God really wants me to just, you know, keep living the way I'm living, to set an example, and just keep spreading that message. That's the only way I can explain it.
Well, and you said basically to eat earth-based foods to tap
Yes.
into divine energy. You want to go into that a little bit?
Yes, yes. I've always gravitated towards fruits and vegetables all my life. When I was raising my son, though, I wanted him. I didn't want to like force vegetarianism on him. You know, I wanted him to just grow into it naturally if he chose to. So I went back to eating meat while I was raising him. I wasn't crazy about it, but now that when he was turning 16, 17, he was old enough to make his own decisions, so I started gravitating back towards vegetarianism. So for the past 2 years, I've been just eating fruits and vegetables, whole foods, no meat at all. And for some reason, I just feel like my energy has been changing. I got all my positive energy back. I'm able to interact better with people who have negative energy. I have this ability, and I'm trying to sharpen this skill. I can see like the subtle worlds. Like when I talk to people, I can see their black energy. I can see their gray energy surrounding them. It's really it's freaking me out. And it comes from eating those whole foods. Because when I eat fruits, I just feel surrounded by love. I just feel like that divine presence. It's strange. So this is what I try and help people with. You know, eat
Mm-hmm.
eat more whole foods and you'll feel better about yourself. I want them to, I mean, they don't understand that they have a black energy looming over them. So if they
Mm-mm.
start tapping into earth foods, they can fight off that energy. And it'll, if everyone does that, we can push those black energies away. And that's how we can help this earth, really.
Well, Missy, I just have an innate feeling though that, it goes a little bit further with you. I think as a healer, if I had that ability, and I probably eventually will have that ability as we raise our vibration and as the earth raises her vibration and we start merging with the next dimension. But if I had that ability right now, man, I would instantly change my profession and I would become a healer because I would be able to see where the energy is and
Hmm.
identify it in somebody else and be able to help them. People can heal themselves, but only if they know there's a problem,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
only if they know if they only knew what the energy looked like, and if you described it to them. You can't just go up to people describing their energy. First, you have to ask their permission. But perhaps that's one thing that you needed to come across with me, is to know that in order to stand in your power and to really do what you came here to do, I would like for you to really think about whether you feel like, because you have this sight, that you could actually use it in a different way, even as a profession.
Yes, I want to. I just don't know how to break into that.
Hmm.
So, um,
Well,
I
I would say that have you had any Reiki classes?
no, I've been interested in that though.
I would say the first thing to do would find a reputable Reiki master and be attuned to the Reiki um, healing. That I'm a Reiki 1, and I didn't need to go past that because I seem to have the ability just innately. And Reiki basically attunes you to be able to channel the patient's energies through the body, and their divine connection with themselves, with their higher self and their soul and their monad and creator. Their own connection will heal those energies. And if you just knew, if you can see them, you can help with Reiki. You touch the patient and you move the energy through the body. It's their
Oh,
energy. It's their energy coming in. You're just a channeler of it. You're just a mover. And then you can see whether it cleared the energy or not because you can actually see their energies. So that might be something that you want to check into to serve. But so I do agree about the vegetarianism. I personally, I'm a little bit anemic, and I do require, because of my DNA, because of
mm,
my all of my well, that's not the only thing, but because you have it in your DNA as well. But I know eventually we're all moving towards, eating organic fruits and vegetables and nuts and things like that. But I do require just a little bit of meat. I'd say I eat meat maybe once a week, maybe
mhm.
twice a week. Um, I like chicken wings, and my partner makes some mean chicken wings with some Frank's hot sauce. And let's see, I really had changed my whole diet though, because I grew up on meat and potatoes, steak, baked potatoes, hamburgers, French fries, fast food. I mean, I had to experience it all. So I had a lot of cleansing to do on my body, to be able to even, start thinking correctly. I mean, I was literally controlled from the dark, from the all of the foods and toxins and poisons in my body. And when I woke up, one of the things that happens when you wake up is you're so unhappy that you
Mhm.
can hardly stand it, that
Mhm.
you either want to die or something's got to change.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us had to have those kind of realizations. So, yeah, nature's another thing as well that you wanted to talk about, as
Yes.
far as what's important to tapping into your divine energy.
Yes. Yes. If you ever just take a walk by your lake and just look up at the sun and take a deep breath and then just notice how you feel. I mean, all of that divine energy coming to you from the water and the sun and the air, it's just amazing. I mean, I have to, every day when I'm at work, I have to, on my lunch hour, whether it's raining or sunny out, I have to go walk by the lake. Otherwise, I can't function. I can't function. I just walk around the lake and I just look up at the sky and because you know when you breathe in, you're breathing oxygen. So if you're in nature and you're breathing in, think of all of that divine energy that you're breathing in, and then when you breathe out, you're breathing out the toxins. So you're exhaling all of your negative energy. So I think being in nature is very important, and eating earth foods is important to, you know, keep us grounded, keep us close to the earth, and just keep absorbing all of that divine energy so that we can release our negative energy.
Absolutely. I think that's very imperative right now is working on ourselves and releasing that negative energy. And if you don't have any other spiritual practices, if you just simply, you know, give thanks to the sun and take in the sun's rays and eat properly, I think you're really, and you know, and you make an intention to want to move forward in your life, that you're awakened, that you know you're awakened, that there's more to just life than being a human, that we are actually, you know, spirits having the human experience. I think that's a huge step, just doing those things that you've talked about, which is the simplicity of it all. I mean, you can get so lost in so lost in so many things. There's so much disinformation out there. I mean, for example, they're telling us, you know, about diet drinks being what we need to be drinking to lose weight.
Taking a pill and
Yeah, low-fat
cream.
foods. Yeah, low-fat processed foods, which are absolutely horrible for us.
Or
You know,
magic
anything that's
cream. Put this magic cream around your eyes and watch all the wrinkles go away.
oh man, they have so many toxins in them and petroleum products that our skin just absorbs those things. So almost everything that can be advertised out there you don't want. And so if you just get back to the simplistic things, and just imagine, okay, what if I didn't live in a city full of, and I didn't live in an environment full of advertising? What would we be living on? What if the truckers were no longer able to gas up their trucks and deliver all these things to people, either on, you know, online when you order something and they bring it to your door, or whether, you know, you go to the grocery store to get it? What if there were no truckers all of a sudden? What would we be existing on? And those are the things that we need to start focusing on, because if we need to make those things better, we need to grow those things in our lives, because guess what? One day there may be a chance that there will be no truckers out there, because the cost of gasoline is going to go up so high that they will not be able to operate. And if our financial system, or when our financial system collapses, there won't be, if the banks shut down, there's no way they're going to be able to get fuel at a gas station.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And the other thing that's probably going to happen is you're going to have to just walk down the street, walk down the road, and go to your local little boutique and buy that T-shirt that you might need, or think about, you know, do I really need this 100 sweater that added to my wardrobe when I have 100 others? Or you know, you start thinking, well, I really don't need this, so you're not going to buy it. And little by little, you're going to see less, like you said, less trucks delivering. There's going to be less stores. There's going to be less things on the shelves because we're not going to need so much.
There's shopping malls now that have shut down and been abandoned all over the United States. And you know, you can go to the malls now and walk around, and they're like half they're less crowded by half than they were, say, 10 years ago, when it was the big thing to do is to go to the mall.
Yes.
You know, I was put in a situation with my last divorce where I had to move, and I had to go through a lot of stuff and just toss it, you know, or give it away. If it was something I could give away, I gave away to local charities or whatever. And just the feeling of releasing yourself, releasing the energy tied to those things
It
is
feels
very
good.
liberating.
Yes, yes. I just made a move. I moved to from Seattle. I moved to Olympia, our capital city, and I left all of my stuff behind because you know, I lived in Seattle for a long time. It's another crowded city. It's getting worse. A lot of negative energy up there. There's a lot of crime, a lot of drugs,
Yeah, the
and
206 is fun in rush hour, I'm sure.
so I just moved down to Olympia. Me and my son, we left all of our stuff behind. We just took very little. We live in a very small apartment, but and this city is less crowded where we live, and there's more scenic, you know, lakes and parks, and it's and I can't tell you how much better, you know, you all to release all of that energy. It just felt so good to do this. And he's very grateful, my son. He's very happy that we did it. He has no complaints that he never grew up in that 5-bedroom house with the 5 acres of backyard and the whole, you know, the white picket fence. He's happy that he didn't grow up that way. He you know, because I learned while raising him, it's the relationship that they need. They don't need the things. They don't need the trips. They don't need the expensive school. It's the relationship that they need.
Wow, you're a shining example.
You
I
are
had,
really. I mean,
I had
honestly, because I think that you sound like you've been able to kind of do that too pretty much your whole life when you needed to. It's like I was going to ask Michelle, when you were down, you know, going through all that, Michelle, was this tied around the time you were kind of having your awakening? I mean, would you been able to handle it with as much ease, like say 10 years before that or 5 years before that?
Oh, I had a very rocky life to begin with. I mean, I grew up in very darkness, in a lot of darkness as well. It was dark and light. It's very strange. It was
Yeah.
angelic in a way because I grew up around musicians. I grew up around B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and
Wow.
a lot of Texas blues musicians. I was backstage with my dad as a child. I grew up backstage by, you know, alcohol and drugs and
Yes.
the whole music scene of, you know, yeah. And so that was just all part of my conditioning to be able to learn how to deal with things, learn how to deal with energy, learn how to recognize energy, to see how it makes me feel. And so I think really my apex of my awakening, Larry, was materialism. I had everything I could ever want in life, and I had more. We had my ex and I had 3 houses at one time. We worked at one house in Houston, Texas, and then I had a property from my prior marriage that we built a house on that we planned to retire in out in the country, and then I also had a house in the Fort Worth area so I could see my son who lived with his father at the time. And so we had to have a place for him because our country house was way too far. So in order for me to see him every other weekend, I needed to be in town where he was. Well, let me tell you what, was never so unhappy than having the responsibility of having 3 houses and all the things that go with it and all the things that you put
And the
inside of
back
it.
and forth and back and oh my God, I bet it was
And the
miserable.
back and forth was amazing, Larry. And just guess what I just said?
What?
You realize I just said the word 3 again. We had
Yes.
that we had that synchronicity earlier today. I mean, the three is the triangle. When you put when you put 3 dots together in a triangle form, it's an energy creation vortex. It's like the
Front of the
triad,
prism.
you
Yeah,
know.
it's the front of the
Yes.
prism.
But anyway, back to I had everything I wanted, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. I mean, I kept getting more and more and more unhappy, and it wasn't my partner as much, because he was wonderful until I woke up, and then I realized that he was not willing to move forward spiritually. As a matter of fact, we were in the oil and gas industry together. So
Oh my
talk about
God.
talk about being in one of the darkest
I was just
industries
thinking
that we
that, partner.
have.
Yeah.
And I was totally lost in everything. And then when I woke up, I was going, "Oh my gosh,
it
I
hits
cannot
you.
believe I
It
can't."
hits.
It hits you. It does. And I said, "I cannot." We ran a business together, and I said, I can't do this anymore." And he didn't understand, you know. And then I was open, completely open with him, and explained everything and my beliefs and everything that was happening to me, and he supported me 100%. He's such a sweet, kind man, and it just got to the point where he wasn't willing to leave the oil field industry, and he just couldn't. We just vibrated apart, basically. That's all there is to it. That's what happens.
Yes, that's what happens. That's
Yeah,
why
so
that's why the divorce rate is so high,
it
because everyone's
is.
vibrating, and they're either growing together or they're growing apart.
Absolutely. And the one thing that you said earlier that interested me, Missy, is you said that you and your son, I mean, other than you having your son in the hospital, you've never been to doctors?
No. The
That's
last
it.
time
Wow.
the last time I went to a doctor was, I think, when he was born. Yeah. And I raised him. He never we didn't have any accident. That's how balanced our energy is. We No accidents, no broken bones. I raised a boy by myself. He never had any, no broken bones. Never any trips to the ER, childhood diseases. I
I'm
can't
blown
believe
away.
how I made it this far. But we just don't think about going to a doctor. We just don't have to. If we have like a little cold, we don't look at that as being sick or having an illness. We just look at it as a little virus is passing. We rest, we drink tea and juice, and we're better the next day.
How
We
about that? Have you had any ascension symptoms, Misty?
Yes, lots,
Okay.
lots.
So that's something that we all still work through. Now, would you mind sharing with us what the messages that you've received about your son?
Um, I my from when he was a baby, I always had this message that he's an angel and he was brought to help me, work through. I think that he was born for a reason, because I've been alone in life. I never found that circle of friends who were like me, trying to change and trying to grow spiritually. So when he was born, I got the message: this is your soul family. He's going to be with you. He's your angel. You're each other's angel.
There
So
you go. I think you just said it. You are each other's angel.
yeah, and he was such a, a a happy baby. He was just always very happy, always hugging me, always singing, and he was just amazing. He was just amazing. And now as a teenager, his emotional intelligence he's like so grounded. No fear. Nothing shakes him up. He always sees the best in people, no matter how. I mean, he grew up. We were, poor, so he grew up really in the ghetto, in a very high crime area. So he grew up around drug dealers,
Mm.
and he just handled it so well, very balanced. He knew right from wrong. He knew how to negotiate with the drug dealers so that he can stay alive and stay on the right side of the legal fence. He just,
Yeah.
I can't even, I just can't put words to it. It's just unbelievable. and again, no health problems at all. Our energy is so balanced. I just feel very blessed.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
wow, it is amazing.
It's very clear to me that we're speaking, to two beings that are from the higher dimensions. Well, I'm not
Obviously.
speaking to your son, but we're speaking about your
Yeah,
son.
I get that feeling too, just hearing about him. And when you said, that he could kind of negotiate his way through, and probably everybody liked him a little bit like that and
Oh,
respected
he
him,
was
and
so
that's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like how I was too. That I got the health problems. Sounds like he was able to be balanced and not get those health issues too because of you. So I commend you two very much, and Michelle's right on her opinion on that.
Thank you.
Wow, you're so very welcome.
All of the children born after, I think it's 1986, perhaps, they're all classified pretty much as indigo and crystal children because they do carry that higher vibration. And so what would you like to tell our listeners about listening to the children?
I honestly, I believe all children are born from a higher region in heaven. So when they're born, if you can just embrace them, and just watch them grow, and you can see their glow. I see my son's energy glow. I see him. He has a golden energy around him. He does. You can see it if you just embrace them and just listen to them, and you'll notice that they do not need the things. They do not need the $100 sneakers. They do not need the trip to Hawaii. All they need is your relationship. They need your bond. They need your connection. That's all they need. It's that simple. It's that simple.
I just got chills.
If we would just embrace that, and let them grow into that divine energy, that's another way we can help the earth shift up. See, I noticed that, especially the area that my son grew up in, it low income, high drugs. So all of those kids had some type of learning disability or some health issue. It was a mess. It was a mess. If honestly, I don't know how to say this politely, so I'm just going to be a little blunt, and I'm sorry. But if you would just, instead of rushing your child to a psychologist and looking for a learning disability, look at their assets, because kids are pure. So look at their qualities. They have so many qualities, and let them grow in those qualities, and stop labeling them and rushing them to doctors. We're only hurting them. We're suppressing them. We're pushing them into the negative energy when we do that.
Wow, that's a really strong statement, and I'm really glad that you were able to get that out tonight.
I'm sorry to be so blunt.
No, and we're so pre-programmed too, don't you think? A lot of us are so pre-programmed to want to go to the doctor for this, for that, for the ache. And it's just, I'm not trying to judge anybody, because believe me, I was there. I had a bad painkiller addiction for a while, and so you're just so pre-programmed, even as a kid, for a cold, for a cough, for this, for that, and it's just like, it's bigger, and of course everybody knows this, but it's so much more intricate than that even.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's Big Pharma's spell that they have over us through the television.
Yes, yes.
It all starts with the television. They're the ones that programmed us to think that we had to go to the doctor with every little symptom that we had. Now, was your son vaccinated at the hospital?
Yes. Yeah. He had all of his vaccines. I did. I believed in that.
Yeah, I believed in it too. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better, and I think that as we raise our vibration, it'll vibrate those things apart. But I do believe that there's things in vaccines that when the children get to a certain age, like with their hormones that start in the teens, that those vaccines kind of trigger something to go awry with their body. I do.
And that's just simple science too, even if there wasn't any bad, intention behind it, which there is. I mean, that's going to happen even on some scale. I mean, you'd have to think with injecting that kind of stuff into a human body and the way it interacts with your DNA and your system,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people just are not aware of, because we've just lived sheltered, sheltered realities. So it's really nice when you have an awakened mother who can just, do things that aren't, in our belief systems, and just share this information with people is great. I just want to have another topic that I wanted to bring up, though, and it has to do with your family and with your DNA, and with we have several different aspects to our DNA. We have our bloodlines, which come from our mother and father, and every ancestor that they had. And then we have our etheric DNA that has yet to be completely activated, which is our spiritual side, or spiritual self to us. Now, that's all part of us. So, you had mentioned when your father died, and you feel like that his energy is still around you, and you still feel that negativity. And it just so happens that today, I actually did a session. I do sessions with myself, and I know that sounds strange, but I use a crystal pendulum, and I speak to my higher self and my soul and my monad and creator, and I can ask questions and get yes or no answers. And I also it also puts me into a meditative state where I can receive my messages as well. And I was reading and studying today, and realized that there's parts of my soul, there's lifetimes that were existing still in the astral plane. And then, of course, later on, you and I spoke, and I think that part of what you were drawn to come to me today is that perhaps there's a way that you can help heal your father, who's in who may be in the astral plane, probably is.
Yes.
And there's reasons why these people haven't moved towards the light. And I wrote an article on what we can learn from near-death experiences, and that may be something that you'd be interested in reading. If you just go to my website, cosmicstarseeds.com, and type in near-death experience in the search button, the article will come up for you. And basically, basically you had mentioned a near-death experience with your heart problem and everything. So I think I think that explains the astral realms a little bit too, as to how people. Well, it explains what happens to you when you die, and when you die, when you leave your body, your soul goes to where the frequency of where you're vibrating is. Okay, so if you're sick and you die, and if you're on a bunch of pain medications and drugs, which is part of big pharma, well, guess where your soul gets farmed to? It gets farmed to the astral plane.
Oh, okay. I get it. Okay.
So if you've led a spiritual life, and you've led a really good life, simple life, and you die, if you were to die tomorrow, well, your vibration will take you probably to a higher dimension, like a fifth dimensional vibration or higher. It's when we get caught in fear, and when we die in fear, that we vibrate to that lower astral plane, where we get stuck each time. Okay. Now, I had a lot of my lifetimes where I was a Knights Templar. I had a lifetime in Atlantis where I was a healer, and when Atlantis went down, there went my whole life. I was a healer at a temple of Isis, the Temple Beautiful, and I helped people live in their bodies for hundreds of years by just balancing the energies with light and sound, and keeping their frequency. Yeah, keeping their frequencies. Keeping those darker energies out of their bodies. And
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, y- well, I
So
feel
you
like
can
that
go
that's
back to
something that
that
you
in
could
this
do too.
lifetime. Yes, I
What?
do.
Yeah.
You you can go back to that in this lifetime, and I'll join you, and then we'll get more people to join
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, Michelle, you're a
Yeah.
pioneer for sure.
Well, I do
Yeah.
think that healing the physical body is something that I'm here to do, and Greg and I are working on that,
Mm.
on doing that clinic that I've talked about so much. But back to the astral plane, since we do have a part of our ancestors in our DNA, anything that we do to raise our vibration to a higher level is going to actually affect our ancestors because we're tied together like that.
Oh, I
Now,
get it.
what I did today is I did a session to where I spoke with my past lifetimes that were stuck in the astral realm. Now, I couldn't hear them, but I innately could feel and sense what they were, what's happening. And I know it's really hard to explain how I connect and do this, but I provided a situation, a space in which I shined my light, and I spoke with them, and I explained to them that I believe that the astral realm is going away, that we have a short period of time in which they need to move out of that space and into a higher vibration, because when the earth is pulsed with energy to bring the earth into a fifth dimensional vibration, and we go into a fifth dimensional vibration within our bodies, well, that leaves those energies in the astral realm that are stuck there, and they won't be able to exist there anymore. So I actually was able to help out a couple of my lifetimes. I don't know which ones they were, but they moved. I called on the seraphim angels to come grab their hands and help them move away. So, we can chalk some of this up to imagination. It does, whatever. Our thoughts create our realities. So I'm basically healing parts of my soul through this imaginary talk I'm having,
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
That's the
that
only way I can
it
explain
was
it.
just your
but
imagination.
it totally makes sense though.
hmm
Yeah, big
And
time.
so, yeah, and especially if it's your father. And so I just want to just tell you a real quick story about my father was in the same position. He was stuck on the astral plane by choice because he had a need to have forgiveness from me and from my mother before he moved on, because once you get over there, you do have the ability to see what pain you've caused other people. That's another thing tied to near-death experiences. For some people, they get to go through their life review, and they
Oh,
see what they have done, and how they've acted, and they've seen the good parts too. And then when they say, okay, well, you've seen your life review, but guess what? It's not time. You've got to go back. Well, it changes their whole outlook on life, because they know now that that there is such thing as the Akashic record. And I just wrote an article about the Akashic records. It's called All About the Akashic Records in the Noosphere. But basically, if everybody was aware there was an Akashic record, then we wouldn't be living like we are now. There would be no war. There'd be no,
no.
hatred and violence. And so they came back with a whole new outlook on life. So back to people that are stuck in the dimension fourth in the astral realm, is that what they don't understand is that they have a fear still of going into the light. They have a fear still of facing their creator, and what they don't know, or obviously they don't know, is that our creator does not judge us. This is all an experience. Sometimes we may even have a lifetime that we went into with one goal in mind, and that was to give one person the hardest time that we could so that
Oh,
they could advance, because we loved them so much that we gave them that experience so they could advance. I mean, it's all soulmates, back and forth we have these lifetimes. So They don't
Wow.
they don't have the complete picture where they are, but they do know that they are not in their body anymore, and they do know they've done some people, some harm, and so they're in fear of going into the light. And so what we have to do, and all it takes to do this, is just get yourself in a meditative state and to
Mhm.
open up your heart and just start speaking to them. You don't have to hear what they have to say, but when you open your heart, your light shines and they can see you, and they're kind of, most of the time they're drawn to you. Sometimes they're afraid because the light is what they fear because of the way they've lived their lives, and
Ah.
because of the unsurety, of, well, will I go to hell? All those belief systems you take with you, and you take your personality with you when you leave your body. Until you go into the light, you still have that personality intact, and you still have kind of like an ethereal body that and you're tied to the earth astral plane in that ethereal body. And you lose that a little bit more as you go into the higher dimensions. So, and then you also join with your soul aspects once you get over into the light, and you realize why you came into the life as a mafia, member, or why you came into this lifetime. You realize a lot more on the other side, and these are the kind of things that I sit and have conversations with beings in in the astral plane to send them, to get them. You can't really send anybody. They're the ones that have to walk into the light themselves. So you can call on the angels to come and to help. You call on your guides and angels to help bring their angels together and help keep them at ease, and tell them not to have any fear. There is no judgment. They're the only ones that judge themselves. And I just get, after I get this wonderful feeling, and then I just go back with my pendulum and check and ask if they all went into the light, and I get, yes. And if I get a no, I just keep talking to whoever's left. I did this one time when I first started awakening. I thought I was losing my mind, but I did this for my stepfather. My stepfather died. My mom's husband died. And I had conversations with him, and he eventually went. But the big thing where I realized that I knew this was real is that after I went to a James Van Praagh seminar for a week, and James is a well-known psychic medium who brings messages over from the other side. And my grandmother actually came through. I thought I was going to this seminar
Wow.
to learn how to bring messages through. So I was trying to learn to take messages, right? But really what it was about was my grandmother prompted me to go. She was one of my guides at the time. And it was to bring,
Wow.
she could come through and tell these girls in the class that my dad was stuck on the astral plane. And so these
Wow.
girls would start talking, they start taking messages from my grandmother as we're doing our exercises. And then my dad comes through. And so I had conversations with him. This was a 5-day thing. Had conversations with him after the first day. At night, I would speak to him, and I would tell him what's happening with the planet and how we're ascending. And if he doesn't move out of the astral plane, he might be lost forever. And it's time for him to make his decision. And by the end of the week, there were 50 people in the classroom, and only 5 people got personal messages on the last day. He brought students up, and he helped them bring the messages through. And I was one of the 5 because my dad came through to him, and he brought. Then my grandfather came through. Now I had already helped my grandfather pass into the light through my crystal pendulum sessions, so I knew where he was. My dad came through. He verified through this girl. She explained what he was wearing when he had this job last. And anyway, you have to go through these confirmation things first to know that it is your dad that you're speaking with. My grandfather came through to James Van Praagh. He had to interrupt the session and say, "I'm sorry, but there's a man here. He's your grandfather, and he wants you to know that your father's with him." And I was like, oh, so my dad decided he crossed into the light, and my grandfather was confirming. And I said, oh my
I have
God,
goosebumps.
my dad crossed into the light. And James Van Prague said, yes, that's the message that they wanted to get to you today.
I have
So I know
goosebumps.
this is real. I know this is real. I know we can communicate with them. They can hear us. Sometimes we can't hear them. There are people, I talk to people all the time that can see these inner energies and these spirits in the astral realm, and that it scares them. And what the message I have, and thank you for coming on our show tonight and bringing forth the fact that your father, is around you and you are feeling his negative energy. The message I have for these people is just talk to them, and if you feel comfortable, ask for help from your guides and angels, but talk to them and help them move out of this astral plane, because we're coming down to crunch time, to where that's where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to move out of it.
I think this is another reason why we connected like we did, because I just the other day, my son was meeting me at work, and when he was walking down the street, this freaked me out. I saw like a spirit around him, like clinging to him, and I knew exactly who that was. It was one of my ancestors. One of my mother's brothers died very young in life, and he again, it wasn't a very good death. So uh, as considering the background of the family. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw him. I saw his spirit clinging to my son. So I know my ancestors are out there, and then they're trying to. Since I'm being more aware and awakening, they're bouncing off of me and they're going to my son now. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why we connected too, so I can help my son get rid of them.
Mm-hmm. Now you can place a protective shield of light, a bubble around your son, and you can also speak to them and you can tell them to leave him alone. Now, some of our ancestors or some of those spirits are not going to go into the light, and they will be reconstituted. Energy does not die, so they will be reconstituted if they make it's a free will choice of their own. If they choose not to go, then that's their choice, and they will not be able to continue on the astral plane of Earth. Now, what's going to happen to them is exactly what the topic of Larry and my show last night. It's the topic of an article that my partner Greg wrote and posted on N5D tonight. It's a wake-up call, basically, that they are going to, if they don't make the choice to move to a higher place, they're going to, because they are still associating themselves with the planet, they're going to turn to stardust. And I know this all sounds freaky, but I encourage you to read the article. I encourage you to listen to the show. The video is implanted in the article, and we have confirmation. We got this information from guides that came through other people that brought the messages to us, and the urgency is not out of fear, but the urgency is that we have to raise our frequency, and if we don't, we can't stay with the planet. And all that means is, energy never dies. So all that means is that it will be vibrated apart and will become stardust once again. I mean, we came from the stars, and they will go back to the stars. So you're not going to be able. I'm having a feeling that you're not going to be able to help all of them, but I do have a feeling that there are some hearing us tonight, and they're going to realize that they need to go to a different place. And I think you can help them with that, and you don't have to, spend relentless time and relentless hours doing this. You need to try once and give them the information and provide the light tunnel. You are light, you're a vortex of light, and they can their angels will come, or a other family member who has crossed into the light. You can call on them and ask them to come, and they'll get a chance, and they'll have to make that choice themselves. And then you just go on. Don't obsess yourself with it, and protect your son with a bubble of light and tell them to stay away. You're much more powerful than they are because you recognize the light that's within you, and they have forgotten the light that's within them.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. And Larry,
Thank
did you have anything else to add to that?
No, you know what? Really, I didn't, because I was just kind of amazed just listening to you two talk, and Michelle, the advice that you had, and it was just interesting. And it's just been a pleasure to have you on the show, Missy. It's been great, and I love the energy that I feel from you. It's so calming and loving and like pure and all-knowing. And you know, Michelle, same with you, of course. And yeah, it's just been really great having you on. And yeah, it's been a long day on the radio. Pretty much no, my mind's kind of just in zone mode now. I don't know how Michelle must be going on consciousness at this point.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's great. I feel wonderful. I feel great. I feel so uplifted and
I
Missy,
do too, actually.
I love your
feel really
energy.
great.
And
Thank
Missy,
you.
we'll keep in contact, and if there's if you're guided and led to share other things, if you feel like writing an article, I'd be happy to help you get it published. And maybe we'll have you back on the show sometime.
And hey guys, before we do wrap up, Missy, do you have a website or anything out there right now, or anything like that that you want to share with anybody, or anything like that? Because I know I always ask Michelle this, you know, and it's coming, Michelle, so be prepared to get. But Miss, do you have anything like that that you'd like to share?
I don't have a website yet.
Okay.
I like that word "yet" because Missy, you're a shining light, and you're meant to meet people like me and Larry, and we can support you in moving forward and helping other people.
Thank you very much. I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're
And
so welcome. Okay, and
I
I'll
can
spill it. I just
I
kidding.
can be found at cosmicstarseeds.com, n5d.com, and michellewalling.com. I also do personal life coaching sessions you can find out that information at the michellewalling.com. I do relationships and spiritual things and health. So basically what I do, though, is I'm a healer, and anything that you can throw at me, it seems that everybody that I've had sessions with, it's so weird. I have been there and I've done that, everything that they have. So I had to live this experience in order to help other people.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, so here I am. Come connect with me. And Larry, thank you so much again for having us at such a late night Pleiadian Talk. And I know that your listeners are very familiar with where they can find you on Facebook. The Pleiadian.
As always, they can find Rocken Larry Locken at the Fringe Thinkers. That's Fringe, not French. They can find me in the Pleiadian group, the largest one on Facebook, 25,000 almost strong, as well as a variety of my regional Pleiadian groups, 17 I think in total now. The Pleiadian Light Grid Project page, Cosmic Awakening page, and Pleiadian Woodstock page, and I think that's about it in a nutshell. I may be missing some, but it's late. Of course, it's only 9:48 here on the West Coast, but
it's 11:48 here. So
yes,
I'm going to bid you guys a good night. Missy, thank you so much for coming
thank
on the show.
you, and that's a wrap.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You too.